questions swirling about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. right now and what role he's going to play in the next Trump administration. We do know that the president-elect has told RFK Jr. to, quote unquote, go wild on America's public health agencies. Now, Kennedy is a well-known vaccine skeptic. He has been a dominant force in spreading conspiracy theories about vaccines for years, leaving people who work in health and public health searching and worrying what that means for the future of public health. Here is what he said after Trump's victory.
I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccines. I've never been anti-vaccine. I'm going to make sure the scientific safety studies and efficacies are out there and people can make individual assessments about whether that product is going to be good for them.
CNN's Meg Terrell is tracking this one, and you're going to be tracking this one for quite some time, I think, Meg. The scientific safety studies, aren't they already out there?
Yeah, Kate, I mean, we saw this during COVID. Of course, it was a tremendously expedited process that we saw there. Under the Trump administration, one of its great achievements, a lot of people in the public health world said. But this typically happens over many, many years. We see animal studies, then clinical trials that take many years to go through. Once these vaccines have shown their safety and efficacy in large clinical trials, they go to the FDA for review. The FDA reviews it, often brings in outside advisors. We saw this during COVID too. Those are public hearings. Anybody can tune in and listen to these things. They last all day and usually they're very boring. But they put all the data out there. The companies themselves publish pages and pages, hundreds of pages of data. The FDA publishes its own review of that in case it disagrees with the way the company is presenting the information. All of that is out there for the public to review itself as well. The advisors often take a vote or make a recommendation. The FDA decides whether or not to approve a vaccine. If it approves the vaccine, then it goes to a panel of outside advisors to the CDC. We saw this during COVID as well. They have a public hearing. We get to watch all of that and see all of their slides and all of their data. They make a recommendation about whether a vaccine should be added to vaccine schedules, how often people should get them, who should get these vaccines. The CDC director then decides whether to accept that recommendation, and even after these get on the market, there are many systems in place to monitor vaccine safety as they are out there, Kate.
Yeah, and all of these, the experts and all of this happening with people who study and care deeply about public health and the health of children. I mean, it's not like anyone's out there trying to rush this through for some personal gain when it comes to these hearings and this review. That's why it's in place. What are you hearing from people then in public health about RFK Jr. taking on some kind of leadership role in public health?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of concern, particularly around vaccines, these sort of conflicting statements that, he says he's not anti-vaccine, but then he also tells folks like our own Casey Hunt that, or she pressed him in an interview on comments he made that there's no vaccine that's been proven safe and effective. Public health experts are very worried, not that he'll get in there and find any data that haven't been presented and find real evidence that there's a problem, but that he'll erode confidence even further in vaccines. And we've already been seeing declining rates. They're still very high for things like the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella. But if you look at kindergarten vaccination rates over the past 4 to 5 years, they have been steadily inching lower. So they haven't been above that 95% threshold the CDC wants to get to since 2019, 2020. And that's a real problem, Kate. That can lead to more spread of diseases like measles.
Absolutely. Meg, thank you very much. Elena, Trump transition 2.0 now in full swing. You have a lot of new reporting coming out about what's being considered. What are you hearing?
That's right, we do. And look, this is really ramped up in just the 24 hours or so since the race was called for Donald Trump. And look, they have had discussions about who could potentially serve in certain roles before. It is very normal, obviously, for a presidential candidate, particularly in the general election, to have these conversations. But I will say that prior to the election, Donald Trump has not really wanted to hear a lot of the names or make any decisions regarding a potential transition and who he would fill in key cabinet roles and in his White House and administration. And that's because he was very superstitious. However, really since they saw that the race was going Donald Trump's way, even before it was called, you have heard many people, allies to Donald Trump, those who are currently working within his inner orbit, trying to pitch themselves for these key roles. Now, I want to talk through the ones that we know that Donald Trump cares the most about. First of all, I think Chief of Staff, obviously, who is he going to surround himself with? Really his top person next to him in the White House. A lot of people have really pushed Susie Wiles, his campaign manager for that role. However, I'm also told that some people have been telling Trump and others close to him that maybe they think she could serve better in a different role, similar to what we saw Kellyanne Conway, his former 2016 campaign manager, do in his first administration, which was take on some sort of counselor and senior advisor role. We've also heard people like Russ Vought be pitched. He is someone who worked as Donald Trump's former budget director, but also ran the massive it was called the Center for Renewing America policy shop outside after the Trump administration had ended. Donald Trump has remained very close with him. And a couple other names being floated, like Brooke Rollins, who runs the America First Policy Institute, and Bob Lighthizer, his former trade representative. Now, another big name and another big role that we know Donald Trump wants to fill, that is Attorney General. Donald Trump has said before that one of the greatest regrets that he had in his first administration was not filling his Attorney General positions as well as he did. Remember, he had Jeff Sessions. He didn't make it. In the end, Bill Barr was someone that him and Donald Trump really, butted heads with, and now is criticized greatly. Some names we're hearing for that, Senator Mike Lee of Utah. We're also hearing Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General, who, like Trump, has also been impeached. We've also heard Matt Whitaker. He had served in an acting capacity in the Attorney General. Some other names floating around. And again, I need to be clear here, Kate, that a lot of these names, this is very early on in the process. They're really having these informal discussions with Donald Trump, but also the people they know that will be helping make these decisions.
And there are also other people that seem very clearly poised to be joining the administration at the same time, right?
There's definitely some sense within Donald Trump's inner circle and from Trump himself where he wants to reward the people who have been loyal to him, particularly over this last final stretch, the people who stayed with him and continue to support him following his departure from the White House and then in the lead up to his campaign. Names I'm hearing like that are people like Steve Witkoff, one of his major donors, but also a close friend of his. Very unclear what type of role he would serve, but I've been told that Donald Trump has said he wants someone like Witkoff, who has a vast business experience, to have some sort of role. We also, of course, know that Donald Trump has consistently touted wanting to have Elon Musk and RFK Jr. serve in some role as well. Elon Musk has really committed himself to this government efficiency program. He's expected to do something like that, even though Donald Trump has admitted that he would like him for a certain secretary position. He has said that Musk is not interested in that. RFK Jr., for his part, is probably going to have some sort of role in healthcare, but we are told that as of now, a lot of people don't think he'll actually be the pick for the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Kate?
Elena Train. Thanks, Elena.